CSX train M41511 on its daily trip from Cumberland to Rocky Mount, making its pickups and set-offs here in Brunswick, Maryland. The crew has left a majority of their train on track 4 and brings their set-offs into the yard before gathering their pickups. An hour or so later, and the conductor protects the shove as M415's engineer eases their pickups west towards the rest of their train. The outbound crew isn't on duty for another 4 hours, so this is all we will be seeing of M415 today. It is now 11:58, and another mixed freight train is making its way east through Brunswick. This time, it is Philadelphia-bound M37211. YN2 SD40-2, number 8482, is returning to Philadelphia after receiving maintenance at CSX's Cumberland shops. 8482 is one of the few remaining YN2 EMDs still on the roster, and has been in captive yard service in Philly for quite some time now. Just 30 minutes later, intermodal I-135 roars west on track number 2. Norfolk Southern's Lackawanna Heritage Unit leading 13R, I quickly headed for Shepherdstown and the Potomac River Bridge. I arrived just in time for what I thought was going to be 13R, but was instead 289 with DC to AC rebuild number 4003 and a special conversion paint scheme as the second locomotive. The James Rumsey Monument stands 75 feet tall along the banks of the Potomac. Dedicated to the local inventor, the monument was constructed in 1915. Rumsey's most well-known invention was the development of steam power for boats, which he first demonstrated as a model upriver near modern-day Berkeley Springs in 1784 to none other than President George Washington, who had become concerned about the connectedness of the new nation. After gaining the support of Washington, he moved to Shepherdstown, where he carried out further tests and demonstrations, including the first steamboat, which had a successful demonstration on December 3, 1787. At 1403, the silence was once again broken, with SD-70 Ace number 1074 blasting its horn for the crossings to the north. Minutes later, and 13R rounds the curve onto the bridge. With 13R moving at such a slow speed, I figured they were to meet a northbound at the siding to our south. I hoped I would have just enough time to get around them to Morgan's Grove, but I wasn't that lucky. Instead, the only train here is northbound 12R headed out of the siding. With nothing else close by on NS, I ventured down to the Cumberland Subdivision and to Bardane, West Virginia, just in time for westbound Autorack M27711. On M277's heels is empty grain train G11008, returning to BNSF in Chicago. I guess luck was on my side once again, making it with just seconds to spare. With SD70 Ace 1181 in charge, 15T races south on the H-line with a short train in tow. By the time I got back down to the Cumberland Subdivision, southbound 27A's head end was already long gone. I thought my luck had run out until empty coal drag E787 rounded the curve, setting up a perfect over-under meet. With traffic dried up on the H-line, I headed back towards home and swung into Brunswick. Those of you paying close attention may have noticed that Amtrak's eastbound Capital Limited hasn't made an appearance yet today. Well, that's because they are over 6 hours late, clearing Brunswick at 17:04. Over on track 1, P873 slows into its final station stop. With all passengers deboarded, P-873 is guided into MARC's storage yard. Thank you all for watching today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week for a trip to CSX's Sand Patch Grade. Until next time, this is Commonwealth Rail, out.